I love getting served food and drinks while I'm sitting in a plush chair watching a movie. And I'm not talking about my wife serving me on Father's Day. Welcome to the Orlando Real Estate Lifestyle, where we explore the intersection of Orlando real estate and your best life. I'm Phil Kruse, here to help you make the most out of your journey right here in the city beautiful. Today, I will be interviewing Deanna Tiedtke. I get that right, Deanna?
Very close. Deanna Tiedtke.
Deanna Tiedtke. She is the public relations director for the Enzian Theater. The Enzian Theater is a nonprofit single screen cinema cafe and is home to the Eden Bar and the Florida Film Festival. It's located there in Maitland, right off of Orlando Avenue, aka 1792. You know, Mills, it has like 9 names. And it's essentially between Eatonville and Winter Park. It's an amazing location. And the Enzian specializes in showing films that you may not find at traditional theaters. Deanna, welcome to the Orlando Real Estate Lifestyle, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. We're really excited to talk about Enzian.
It's my pleasure. I absolutely love your theater. Just to let the listener know what we're going to be talking about today, I'm going to be asking Deanna about how the Enzian is different from other movie theaters, what the Enzian Theater is doing for Halloween coming up, a little information about the Florida Film Festival, and even Deanna's favorite item off their menu. But before we go any further, if you guys want to know more about the Enzian Theater and Eden Bar after we're done with this conversation, you want to go on their website. It's their main information source. It's the enzian.org, not .com, or you can hop on their IG, their Instagram. It's just at Enzian Theater, and make sure you go theater with an ER, not an RE. And of course, while we're plugging the Enzian, I'm gonna go ahead and plug myself. I am a real estate agent after all, and one of my main lead sources are listeners like you. So when it's your time to make a major real estate decision, please think of me, Phil Kruse. That's Kruse with a K, Kruse. A portion of all my real estate commissions go to charity. The Enzian, for example, is a nonprofit organization. So you as a buyer or seller, if you want to direct my commission that goes to charity towards the Enzian, I'd be happy to do that. If you don't have a charity you're passionate about, I donate my time and my treasure to the New Image Youth Center located in downtown Orlando in the Paramore neighborhood. I volunteer there every Wednesday after school. Jump on your podcast platform or YouTube. I'm going to have Deanna's or the Enzian's contact information on there as well as my cell phone. Just shoot me a text. And of course, like and subscribe to all my social channels. And I launch a new podcast every Monday. It's all about Orlando, some about real estate, things like this, cultural phenomena like the Enzian. It's amazing. And I appreciate your support. Okay, let's get into it. I imagine the typical movie experience nowadays, and I think about traditional popcorn, that gigantic soda, and finding the right theater to sit in. So, Deanna, what makes the Enzian Theater different from traditional movie theaters?
Well, we do have popcorn and soda. That's the good news.
Good.
But pretty much everything else is a little bit different than your typical theater. So we are an art house cinema. So let's start there. Basically, what that means is that we are releasing new films that are more indie, like off the beaten path, international films, things that are art house films.
Okay.
And then we also do a fair bit of throwback programming on our website, and just in general, we call that our specialty programming. And we have a bunch of different series that the specialty programming falls under. So, for example, we have a program called Uncomfortable Brunch, where you come and watch a horrifying or uncomfortable or controversial film, and you juxtapose that with a delightful social activity, which is eating brunch.
Nice.
So we do things like that. We also do peanut butter matinee family films where kids can get in for a discount or for free. And we do additional little things for kids throughout those programs. So we have a ton of special programs, and that's kind of where our throwback films come. But the biggest difference with Enzian is when you actually walk in the door. So when you first get there, we have Eden Bar, which is a full restaurant and also a delightful bar. It is outdoor, so coming up on the fall here, it is starting to get absolutely gorgeous out there. It's basically this tropical paradise with these sweeping oaks. It's just absolutely stunning. And then when you actually go in the theater, we're not set up like a normal theater, like a Regal, where you have rows of chairs pointing at a screen. Essentially, we're set up as a tiered theater. And the reason that we do that is because we are a full service restaurant inside the theater as well. So you'll be sitting in very comfy chairs with a table. You'll be able to eat. So you can order food from our servers. They come around in the 30 minutes preceding the film and then take your order. They'll deliver your food very quietly. They're very talented people. As the film is happening, you'll eat and then you'll pay your check after the film is done. So yeah, pretty much everything about Enzian is a little bit different from your average movie theater experience.
I can tell the listener out there from firsthand experience that it is super intimate, super comfortable. The chairs are couch like. I do have a question though. You mentioned the service coming 30 minutes essentially before showtime. When they deliver your food, do you have an opportunity to order additional drinks and food, or is it they just drop and go?
Yeah, you absolutely can. You can order throughout the movie. We also just renovated the lobby and we added a bar there as well. There's always been a bar, but it actually hasn't been functioning from the perspective of the patron. Now it is. So either when they come and drop your food, you can order another beer, another pitcher of beer if that's your vibe, or
You know your audience. I can tell.
exactly, or during the film, you can go out to the lobby bar and order there as well.
Cool. That's great. I'm going to pivot just a second now that we have a general understanding, and we'll get into some more details in a minute. But now that we have a general understanding of what the Enzian is, I want to also shine a light on something that's, I think, super unique and super unique to Orlando. And I feel like we're blessed to have this here. Next year's annual Florida Film Festival, it'll be its 34th iteration. It's located right here in Orlando. It's located at the Enzian. So what is the Florida Film Festival and how does the Enzian Theater fit into that?
Yeah, of course. So I'll flip your questions.
Okay.
Enzian Theater presents the Florida Film Festival. We are the same organization, but they operate separately just because the festival is such a huge undertaking. But it is part of our nonprofit organization. And then the Florida Film Festival is actually a pretty large regional film festival. We are very happy to be able to say that we are Oscar accredited in all three shorts categories, which only 17 other film festivals in the United States can say that.
Wow.
So it's pretty significant. What that means is if someone comes and shows their film at our film festival and wins the grand jury award, then they're able to be nominated for an Academy Award. So it's kind of how the film festival circuit works, but a lot of times festivals will only be accredited in certain areas. So it's very cool that we're able to do all three shorts categories. Doesn't mean that we only do shorts. We have full-length features, documentaries, narrative films, all of that during the film festival as well. It's over 10 days in April, and we do celebrity events where celebrities come and talk about a film that they are in. We do a bunch of forums that are free and open to the public. So if you're interested about film and specifically about some of the intricacies of creating film or even like the politics surrounding film, that all happens in those forums. So those are really interesting. And then, of course, parties. We have a lot of parties during the film festival, the biggest of which is our opening night party. And that happens at the Winter Park Events Center, which, of course, is brand new. And we get to work with a bunch of local vendors who end up being our food and beverage sponsors who come and help us throw just an incredible party.
Well, that's amazing. And the Winter Park Events Center, like you said, that's brand new, is right down the street from you guys. So
Yeah.
that's a great location. Um, I saw on your website that there's a lot of countries represented and there's a lot of films. Do you have offhand roughly like how many films are we talking about and how many countries are represented?
So I don't for this year, because we're still in the period where we're collecting applications,
Okay.
and our programming team is watching literally thousands of films in order to weed through and find the ones that we're going to show at our festival. Last year we had about 180 films, and there were 19 countries represented.
Wow.
So it's it's significant, but the amount that our programmers go through in order to find these gems is just remarkable. I mean, they get thousands of films in, and then we have a team, selection teams for each different category of film that we show, and they each watch, hundreds of films and rank them. And then the ranking goes through this complex system where we end up with the films that we show. So it's intense.
It sounds intense, and I appreciate that you guys screen all of those selections so that us as the target audience can actually go and enjoy the ones that you all think are the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we really prioritize at Enzian, and also by extension at the Florida Film Festival, is the fact that regardless of what genre you're coming and seeing or what kind of film you think you're into, we like for you to just trust our programmers because they certainly know what they're doing. We have our director of programming, Matthew Curtis, has been with us for almost 30 years.
Wow.
Um, so he's been around a long time. He's incredible. You can ask him about literally any movie and he can tell you the cast and the year it came out and something about the soundtrack and the lighting. It's remarkable. But we have two incredibly talented programmers who work with Enzian year round, but then also work to run that whole selection process I was just talking about at the Florida Film Festival. And they are experts. They are industry experts, and they pick the best things possible to show to our audience. And so part of what I love about Enzian is that you can just trust them. And
Yeah.
instead of saying, "Ooh, what movie am I going to go see?" you say, "You know what? I'm going to go have dinner and watch the 6:30 show at Enzian."
Well, I love that. And it's a fun way to kind of diversify yourself as a person from an art and film perspective. Because, yeah, somebody like me or the average person listening out there may be like, oh, I'm very selective about what I want to watch, but I'm just going to show up and take what's on the menu from the Enzon, and odds are I'm going to love it. So
Yeah,
I think that's great. So, again,
exactly.
sorry, Deanna, what was that?
No, it's fine. Part of our mission is to educate and inspire and connect the community through film. So a big part of what we do is from the education perspective. A lot of people don't really think of film as art in the same way that they would if they were going to a museum. They think of film as like, something you do on Saturday night. You grab a friend and some popcorn and watch the new Marvel movie at Regal, which is great, and it is totally a super viable way to watch and enjoy film. Um, but for us, there's more. One of our taglines is that film is art,
Yeah.
and it is. It's an art form in the same way that photography is and still art. But we're able to tell such complex stories because we have so much time to tell those stories, as opposed to looking at a beautiful piece of modern art at MoMA and saying, wow, I'm impacted by this in this specific way. We have an hour-long documentary about two volcanologists who studied volcanoes and fell in love during their study of volcanoes, and
Wow.
and it can impact you in the same way, visually, emotionally. I mean, they really a lot of the time tug at your heartstrings, but it is this art form that I think is really underappreciated, and so it's very fun that we get to appreciate it at Enzion.
Absolutely. And it just again makes me feel grateful and appreciative of that an institution like this exists in Orlando where there's so I mean, you can just tell by the way you shared that whole section, is that the passion that you have uh, as the public relations director, and I can only imagine the artistic staff behind you and all that. It's great. Um, I'm going to move on, and I want the listener to imagine enjoying cocktails while being shaded by 400-year-old oak trees strung with hipster lights in a lush old Florida courtyard. Of course, I'm talking about what Deanna already alluded to early on. It's the Eden Bar, located right outside. It's on the same campus as the Enzian, but it kind of greets you as you walk up. So you already kind of touched on what the Eden Bar is. So I want you to get your opinion now that we've got this image in our mind, the oak trees and the hipster lights and the lush Florida palmettos and landscape. How do you think that natural beauty, the natural beauty of your location, adds to the experience for the people coming to the Enzian?
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I know this because I actually was just talking to someone who came to the Enzian for a movie for the first time last week. She'd been at Eden Bar 100 times and didn't actually recognize that we were a movie theater.
Awesome.
So I know that seems insane until you see Enzian, because it genuinely does just look like the most beautiful outdoor restaurant. And then we also are a movie theater. Now that doesn't come by accident. My my husband actually is in charge of all of the landscaping at Enzian, and he is a very, very passionate horticulturalist. So he picks all of the most beautiful plants and make sure that the grounds are pretty much impeccably groomed. But a big part of it is just that location. And actually, when Enzian opened up, this we're now celebrating our 40th year on February 22nd. But when Enzian opened up, it was already a restaurant, and in that little grassy area, there was an actual physical restaurant, and so the theater was built to kind of mimic the style of the restaurant. And eventually, we took the restaurant in house, and so we built out a kitchen in our pre-existing space, and that restaurant went away. And so we had all of this wonderful open space to work with. Um, there's a reason it's called the Eden Bar, because it really is like the Garden of Eden. I mean, it's just gorgeous.
It is. It is. And if you haven't been there listening out there, it's worth the trip just to grab a cocktail and walk the grounds. It's captivating and puts you in a sense of awe. You know, you're like being in nature without, being out in the middle of nature, so to speak. So great job describing that. And I think you already touched on this, but it seems pretty obvious at this point. You can go and just have a drink. You don't have to buy a movie ticket, right?
Yeah, exactly. You come for lunch, come have a cocktail. Even before I worked there, I used to go to happy hour and stuff at Eden Bar and just say, "Oh, I've had a tough day at work. I'm gonna go grab a tiki drink."
Nice.
Um, the tiki thing kind of happened on its own, honestly. We have really, really talented bartenders. One of the most amazing things about Enzian is we have all these amazing employees, but the employees end up becoming the space.
Yeah.
Because since we do the food and beverage and the restaurant side and the bar side as well, like our regulars know everybody at Enzian, which is really cool. And so gosh, I'd say probably like 8 years ago, the bartender just said, "Hey, why don't we make tiki drinks? What do you think about that?" We were like, "Okay, sure." And so they started making tiki drinks, and then it turned into this super elaborate menu. And now we have and it's like 15 cocktails that are tiki themed at Eden Bar. So I guess it's a tiki bar now.
Nice.
But we
What
also have other drinks.
When you say tiki drink, what do you mean? Is it served in a little tiki cup or is it something different?
It used to be. A lot of people steal tiki mugs.
Yeah, I can
Unfortunately, they're very cool, so I don't really blame them. But no, so tiki drinks are a specific type of cocktail. It's like a specific subset.
okay.
And it generally means drinks that are either rum based or have rum involved in them. Very spice forward, very juice forward. So if you think of like a pina colada, that's pretty much the most basic one of them. But Mai Tais, zombies, all that kind of stuff. So I'd say our menu is a little bit more tiki inspired. We definitely don't only do rum drinks. I think there are like 3 rum drinks on the menu, and then the rest of them are different liquors. So
Cool. Nice. Well, I mean, I love this. The more you talk, the more you're getting me my plans for my weekend getting fleshed out.
exactly.
But before we move on, as to what the Enzian has cooking for Halloween and what Deanna's favorite food item is, I want to remind the listener out there to hook me up and subscribe to my podcast. I interview interesting guests and business leaders, restaurateurs on my podcast all the time, like Bruno Zacchini of Pizza Bruno, Thomas Ward of Pig Floyd, Caleb Harold from Hawkers, and Kelly Sen from Orlando Power Yoga. The list goes on. So now Deanna finds herself on that list. If you want to learn more about what's going on in Orlando, jump on my socials. Every Friday, I post my 5 favorite things going on in Orlando. You better believe that one of Enzian's movies or events ends up on that post probably once every 2 or 3 weeks for me. This is so unique, and knowing what the Eden Bar has to offer. So jump on YouTube, hit the bell, or go on Spotify or what have you. You know what to do out there. And find me online, Phil Kruse. That's Kruse with a K, Kruse. If you Google that with Orlando or real estate, you're going to find my website and all my socials. I'm a huge Orlando advocate. And don't forget about my real estate services and the fact that a portion of all my real estate commissions go to charity. And I love supporting the New Image Youth Center or the charity of your choosing. So Deanna, we want to know, at least I do, what is your favorite food item on the menu, and what is the best film you've ever seen at the Enzian? I know that might be a tough question to answer, so do your
Oh,
best.
yeah. That's rough.
Whatever comes to mind.
As far as favorite food item, I have to go with the crowd pleaser. I know it seems boring, but I genuinely think that we have the best chicken and fries in Orlando.
Okay.
We just have chicken tenders and French fries. You can upgrade and make them truffle fries if you want to. But they're just absolutely delicious. I think you'll kind of start seeing a pattern, but we've also had our same chef for over a decade.
Yep.
We tend to keep our people at Enzian. But yeah, he's fantastic. And he just makes really good chicken and fries.
Good.
I also think that a lot of people love our burger. We get kind of rave reviews on that. And then we have this little appetizer. It's like a tempura cauliflower with goji sauce.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's delicious. That's one of my favorites as well.
For someone who had cauliflower for lunch in both soup and physical form, today you're a woman after my heart.
Perfect.
Oh, can I
Yeah, you
coax
gotta
you?
try it.
Sorry?
You gotta try it.
I will. Can I coax out your favorite movie, or maybe the favorite movie you've seen recently at the Enzian?
Gosh, so busy working, I don't have time.
How about what you're looking forward to then? Is there one on the menu you've seen?
So I'll do you one better. There's a new series that I'm very excited about.
Okay.
So starting last month, we just started our Enzian Film Club. And what that is essentially a book club for film. So obviously tailoring to that education part of our mission, we want to teach people about film and really like inspire continuing education after you've graduated and all that stuff. So basically what we do is we program the films based on semester, and they're part of our Saturday Matinee Classic series. So our inaugural film club happened last month, and it was we did Pulp Fiction,
Nice.
crowd pleaser, and we talked about editing. And so what happens is we get professors from UCF Full Sail and Rollins. They come together and they select a person who has a specialty in this case, editing, who goes up and gives an introduction before the film. So the introduction will tell you what kind of things to look for in these films as you're watching it. So it makes you kind of watch it in a different context. And then after, we all come together at the front of the theater and just hang out and discuss the film through the lens of editing. And so the process is essentially so that by the time you graduate, you'll have gone through basically a Film 101 class um, Saturday after Saturday. So our next one is Suspiria in October. It's part of our 13 Films of Halloween series, but we're going to be talking specifically about lighting. And it's going to be very cool. I'm really excited about it.
Well, that's amazing, and just a testament to Enzian's vision of, as you said, educating. It's simply just not a movie theater. It is an art
Right.
space. It is a community pillar supporting the arts, supporting young people that are dreaming about getting into the industry. You mentioned how you retain employees. Clearly, your culture is rock solid. So hats off to you guys. 40 years is extremely impressive. Now you touched on the Halloween season. I love getting scared, maybe scarred, maybe scarred by a good movie. I know the Blair Witch Project got me in high school. That I could barely walk from my friend's car to my front door. Um, so, what does the Enzion have in store? You mentioned the 13 films of Halloween. Can you?
Well, so first of all, do you know about our connection with Blair Witch?
I don't. Pure coincidence.
The producers of Blair Witch worked at Enzian.
Wow.
So that's like a very much a home film for us.
Nice.
But
That's
yeah,
so
it's funny that
cool.
you mentioned them.
It
Um,
is.
so a lot of our patrons also really like horror films. We have quite a few programs that kind of surround that. I mentioned Uncomfortable Brunch, but we also have Freaky Fridays, which happen once a month, and it's a midnight movie on a Friday. And yeah, they're horrifying. I can't go watch them, but some people can. Um, so for our 13 films of Halloween, we've been doing this for over a decade now, and they're a huge draw. Everyone loves them. But basically, what we do is we pick 13 films that are all old classics or sometimes anniversary films. We played Haxon, I think last year or the year before, and it was its 100th anniversary.
Wow.
So we always pick kind of unique films that you may not have seen before, and then that's paired with more of the like cult classics, um, you know, cult following films. And we pair each of these films with a specialty cocktail.
Oh,
So we have the 13 cocktails of Halloween and 13 films of Halloween. And you get a punch card at the beginning of October. And if you punch through all 13 films of Halloween, you get a bar tab at Eden Bar. So it's very fun. A lot of people participate. People dress up. They bring props. They get really intense about it. But yeah, it's one of our most fun programs, I'd say. And then it all kind of culminates at the end with our Halloween party. And so we do a costume contest. People get also very intense about that.
I bet.
and yeah, it's just a big old party. There's normally a midnight movie that evening as well. So you could come party and then go to the movie or just party.
That sounds good to me. I'd like to do both. I imagine if somebody wants to learn more about the party and stuff, they can find it on your website or on your Instagram.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Even if you just type in 13 films of Halloween Enzian, all that stuff will pop up.
Nice. Yeah, I saw the Killer Clowns from Outer Space. That
Yep.
never heard of that one before.
Well, if you had heard of all of them, we're not really doing our job well, are we?
Yeah, well said. I think the only one I recognized actually was Interview with a Vampire, which is like
Oh
obviously
yeah,
great.
that's a classic.
Yes, it is. Well, Deanna, I can picture certainly the uniqueness of the Eden Bar and the intimacy of your single screen screening room inside the Enzion, and it begs the question: Can your can the Enzion be booked for private events?
Yeah, we absolutely can. It's a little tricky timing wise sometimes, but the earlier in advance you reach out to us, the better. But basically, we do run 3 films a day, every day.
Wow.
So obviously, in order to bump those, considerable. But if you wanted to do something on the weekend morning, or even just reserve a section of Eden Bar for a smaller group, do some catering, we're totally able to do that. And any weekday morning and early afternoon is generally available as well. So
Okay.
yes, you can book us for private events. You just have to be cognizant of timing.
Yes, no kidding. I imagine it's a great place to take professional pictures too.
Oh yeah, lots of professional pictures. We actually have a fair few weddings there.
Mm.
And the reason for that is because a lot of people meet at Enzian and then end up getting married. Just kind of like the nature of the organization. It's, especially if you go and you watch like a more controversial film or something that like maybe doesn't sit super well, or maybe something that challenges you, which is obviously what we strive for.
Right.
The greatest thing is just like sitting there and watching people come out of these films and then going and sitting at Eden Bar and just talking to everyone who's just seen the film as well. And so I think that Eden Bar being there just it enhances the experience because it allows for discussion with strangers, which doesn't really happen anymore in this technological age. I feel like everyone just goes out of the movie theater and is immediately on their phone texting and seeing what they missed during the movie. But not the case at Enzian. So it is a little old fashioned in that way. But I know that during the normal year, we see a lot of people, meet for the first time at Eden Bar and then come back on a date and then eventually come back and get married, which is so cool. And then during the film festival, we have so many filmmakers and actors and actresses around that what ends up happening is you see people collecting at Eden Bar and planning like their next project.
Nice.
And normally those filmmakers come back as alumni filmmakers to the film festival as well, because they just have such a great time and they just make so many awesome connections there. So part of the fun of it is like you never really know who you're sitting next to at Eden Bar.
Okay.
One of the stories I like to tell is that Emma Stone, before she was Emma Stone,
Yeah.
um, was came for an art house film during the Florida Film Festival, and she's very shy, and she was just kind of like sitting at Eden Bar, keeping to herself, not really talking to anyone. Some people came up to say hi because they'd just seen the movie that she's in, and strike up conversations. But other than that, she was just kind of off on her own in the corner. And of course, now she's Emma Stone.
Yeah. That's A-list.
um,
Doesn't get more A-list than that.
mhm.
Wow. That's so cool. And like you said, you never know. I think
You
that's a
never know.
great story. I'm going to mention to the listener that the Enzion and reiterate that the Enzion is indeed a nonprofit organization. It offers memberships. So I wanted you to just touch on that and break down what some of the member benefits are. And if a listener wasn't necessarily ready to commit to a membership, is there other ways they can give back, like donations or volunteering?
Yeah, of course. So if you go to enzion.org/friends, all of our membership options are up there. There are some higher tier memberships that are more donation based, but our lower tier memberships are kind of just member based. Essentially, you get free popcorn and you get to reserve seats.
Nice.
Based on those are the member perks that everyone always talks about. So
Okay.
that's what I talk about too. There are other perks as well, but yeah, we end up doing a lot of member events. Sometimes we'll do special screenings and sneak previews from distributors for just the members, which is very cool. And yeah, I mean, like Phil said, we are a nonprofit, and so we're constantly fundraising.
Yeah.
Our annual campaign, the United Arts campaign, is coming up at the end of November, and so we'll start to solicit donations for that as well. One of the things that is pretty interesting, and most people don't know about arts and culture nonprofits, is that about 25% of our bottom line is made up from ticket revenue.
Mm.
So 75% of everything else is made up from grants and donations, and private institutions as well. So yeah, we really rely on the support of the community. We are a single screen, so obviously we can't do what Regal does and be, a huge Cineplex with 20 theaters. Uh, so that's how we survive. The community they kind of own Enzian because they need to in order to keep it thriving.
Well said. The Enzian is clearly a community resource. It's about as old as I am. So a huge part of Orlando. You got the 13 films of Halloween. You got the Eden Bar. You got the Florida Film Festival. You got the chicken tenders and fries. Uh, I don't know why anybody after listening to this wouldn't be rushing to the Enzian website and also to the Eden Bar to go check it out. So if you want to do that, make sure you go on Enzian.org and check them out on Instagram at Enzian Theater. They'll find out about the Halloween party there. And while you're out there searching Instagram, you can search for me, Phil Kruse. That's Kruse with a K, Kruse. Throw Orlando, throw real estate on there, and anywhere, any platform, Google, you'll hit. If you like hearing guests like Deanna, if you like learning about what's going on in Orlando, I have podcasts about what's going on with the Brightline train, what's going on with the I-4 infrastructure projects. And of course, I have ones that are geared towards real estate, like how to sell your home fast and at the highest price, utilizing a unique strategy called the auction effect. So if you're interested in talking about any of that stuff, my cell phone number is going to be right in the notes underneath the description of the podcast on YouTube or on Spotify, etc. While you're there, make sure you give me a 5-star review. It really helps. And subscribe, hit the bell, hit whatever the button is you're supposed to hit. You'll get and turn your notifications on, and you'll get notified every Monday when I drop a new podcast like this one. Deanna, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule and talking to me today.
Of course. Thanks so much for having us.
It's my pleasure. And for the listener out there, always know that your best life in Orlando is within reach. Keep embracing every moment. Cheers. Thanks for listening.